How are we? This is Chat UTD. There's been so many decisions that the club has made down the years, ranging from buying certain players, extending contracts of other players, hiring certain managers, sticking with certain managers, even as far as the club deciding that rather than sell to a new owner, they would do a deal with Ineos. So many big decisions that I find myself having to compromise my opinion and compromise my true gut feeling in order to be relatively pragmatic and fair-minded, and even sometimes trying to be positive about those decisions, when in my gut I just know it's not the right decision for the club. And my success criteria is, does this decision help us to, at the very least, consistently finish top four season in, season out? And ultimately, does it mean that is it going to help us towards trying to win the league in the next 3 or 4 years? Because for me, that's the success criteria Manchester United should have. More often than not, no, those decisions don't lead to that. And that's been proved right over the last 13 years. Michael Carrick, I think, is going to get the job at United, and I think it's another one of those decisions. And it's not about him, it's about the people making those decisions. Michael Carrick hasn't done anything wrong here. He's come in as an interim and been asked to do a job and done it at the very best level you can do it to. And if he gets offered the job, he's well within his rights to take it. So he's not done anything wrong here, and that's what's going to happen. But does that decision help us to finish in the top four consistently in the next few years? And does it help us get closer to winning the league in the next 3 or 4 years? In my opinion, no, it doesn't. But I will, like I have with the other decisions, I will look at the positives, and I will be pragmatic, and I will be fair-minded about it. And there is plenty to be fair-minded about in this. In the time that he's been there, 12 games? We've got the best record in the Premier League. That's a decent cross-section of opponents. That's a decent period of time. You can see he's a red. I don't think we're playing the football that I would want us to play, but you saw it against Chelsea at the end there with our fans. You can see what it means to him. You can see his passion, his excitement. It's there. He's a red. If he wasn't there in the capacity he's in now, he more than likely would be stood with the away fans, or certainly watching it on TV, cheering them on like we all were. And there's a romanticism to that. And that's what this club is founded on, mystique and romanticism and mythology. And there is something very romantic about one of your own who was at the club for more than 10 years, getting and loves the club, adores the club, goes and watches the club when he's not within the capacity he's in now, getting the managerial job and having a chance to make a go of it. In a different space and time with different owners, this is a fairy tale. So there's that. I think it's also really easy to lose sight of where we were when he came in. Now, there are some that say Amrin would have got us Champions League football. I don't think he would. We weren't in a terrible position when Amrin left, in terms of league position and how far behind the top 3 or 4 in points we were. We weren't that far behind. But the feeling around the club was dreadful. And I like Amrin. I like the way he comes across. I like a lot of the things he said. I like what he stood for. I like the things he did with Rashford and Garnacho. I like the standards he tried to bring. I like the subculture he was trying to put in place at the club. But I can't defend him. His record was dreadful. It was an absolutely terrible 15 months. He won back-to-back games once in 15 months. He was not overseeing a level of consistency that would get us into the position we're in now. We finished 15th last season. And depending on whether we finish 3rd, 4th or 5th, we're going to finish 12, 11 or 10 places higher than last season. And a large part of that is down to the consistency that we've had since Carrick came in. So it's really easy to lose track of that and lose sight of that. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I remember things that I've said. I've got a really good memory for things that I've said, and I'm not just going to hand pick stuff that serves my argument now. I remember in the autumn, with no prior knowledge of the fact that it was going to be Carrick who would come in as an interim, I was just hypothesising. I was talking about different stages United would need to go through and different managers for different stages. And I hypothesised, I said in the autumn, if Amorim ends up getting sacked at some point this season, and someone like a Michael Carrick came in and got us to finish in the top 8, what the board might say is, he's steadied the ship, it might be worth giving him a 1-year contract. I said that, it's on here. So when I said, if Michael Carrick comes in and gets us top 8, what I meant in the autumn when I said that was, that would be a decent achievement. And he maybe should get a year contract on top of what he would do as an interim. So I can't sit here with us potentially finishing 3rd, 4th or 5th and say, I cannot believe this. This is absolutely outrageous that they're thinking of giving him a however many year contract or a permanent contract. Because it's there, I said it. I also said in January when he got the job, if he gets us into Europe, he'll get the job, and probably so he should. So I can't be a hypocrite. I qualified it in January with, if we had owners who were in relentless pursuit of success and wanted to win Premier Leagues and qualify for the Champions League season in, season out, then we probably wouldn't entertain the idea of Carrick. But we haven't got those owners. We have the owners we have, and I guess it kind of fits. On that, if we got on Nagelsmann or even a Tuchel or Enrique, is this board going to give them the tools that they need to do the job properly? Probably not. Is Julian Nagelsmann guaranteed to do better than Michael Carrick? He's a better coach than Michael Carrick. I think Iraola's a better coach than Michael Carrick. But we're not talking about that. As the Manchester United head coach, with the circumstances we've got now, would either of them do a better job in 2 years than Michael Carrick would? I don't know. It's up for debate. It's not a given. In terms of what they'd need an awful lot of money over a big period of time to give them the tools that they need to do their job properly, and this board won't give them that. So if we need a manager who can make do with what he's got, with maybe a few additions on top, which is what we're going to get this summer, then yeah, I can completely see why it would work with Carrick, or why they might think it will work with Carrick. This is me, by the way, reasoning it out. This is me saying the things that I spoke about at the start of the video that I do in these situations. I can reason it out, I can look at it pragmatically, and I can come up with arguments for the decision. No worries. What does my gut tell me? My gut tells me United are on the road to nowhere. And this decision doesn't take us in a different direction from that. The reason we're on a road to nowhere is not to do with Michael Carrick, it's the board. I have nothing personal against Michael Carrick at all. We need new owners. They scupper everything. A top club does not appoint an interim manager. But we're not a top club. I hear that Sir Jim Ratcliffe doesn't. The pool of managers is reduced because Sir Jim Ratcliffe doesn't want to pay a get out clause or a compensation to get a manager out of a club. Well, maybe you need to do your job better then, Jim. Sorry, I should explain that further. He doesn't want to get a top manager out of a club and pay compensation for it because he's already done it with Amorim and Ten Hag. I should have said that. He already paid Ten Hag off to sack him. He paid money to get Amorim out of Sporting Lisbon, and then he paid him again in compensation when he sacked him and his coaching staff. I should have said that. So he doesn't want to pay money to get a manager out of a club. Well, you know what? If you're going to play the game, then you need to be prepared to pay the price. If you're going to play the game of making mistakes, fail your way forward, keep appointing people until you get it right, then what you need to do, the nature of the beast is you're going to have to pay people to get them out of contracts. And if it doesn't work, you're going to have to pay them off to get rid of them. That's football. That's top level football. Real Madrid do it all the time. You gave Ten Hag an additional contract on top of what he had, despite the fact that every single Manchester United fan knew that he would be gone by Christmas. You made that decision, which meant then you had to pay more money to get him out of the contract about 3 months later. You then appointed the wrong person in Ruben Amorim because you were not prepared to spend the money that was needed to be spent to give him the players he needed to play the system that he wanted to play. And then you sacked him. So don't punish us and punish the club by going, I don't want to get my hand in my pocket anymore. We're going to have to go for an easier option. And certainly, please don't insult our intelligence by saying this is a best-in-class operation, because it isn't. It's the best we can afford or the best of who's available. And I'm not even sure it's that. That's on the board. That's not on Michael Carrick. That's on the ownership. The other thing that's put out there by ex-players and reputable journalists that the club uses as mouthpieces is things like, well, it kind of goes in Carrick's favour because there's a lot of big hitters that they would have liked to have gone for, but they're not available, they've just signed new contracts, and it kind of plays into Carrick's hands that that's the case. I've said it many times on here before, there's no such thing as an unavailable manager. Every manager in the world is available if your proposal is right for them. Picture this, right? There's an argument to say with owners who are absolutely relentless in their pursuit of success and wanting Manchester United to be the very best again, where they'll leave no stone unturned to make that happen, that you could sit opposite a Diego Simeone. I'm not a massive fan of Tuchel, but his name seems to be mentioned, Tuchel or Enrique. You could sit opposite them with a very clear conscience, if you were a proper owner, and say the following words. Let's just use Simeone as the example because he's my preference. Look, Diego, we're heading to finish third this season, and we haven't even been that good. The two teams that are above us are not great, and there's a chance that Guardiola's going to leave. If not this summer, then certainly very soon. They're not going to continue to dominate. We're going to give you a hell of a lot of money to spend this summer to improve the team further. And bear in mind, we're finishing third and have got loads more wriggle room to get better and better and better. You could be the guy that wins the title back for Manchester United. You would be immortalised by one of the biggest, best fan bases in the world of football. You would be a legend to this football club. And it is within touching distance, and we're going to give you the tools to get over the line and reach that milestone. What do you reckon? There is a possibility to frame it that way. Because everything I just said, if we had good owners, is true. We're third in the league. We're a gargantuan football club. And the two teams that are above us are not that good. You spend proper money on this team and you get a proper manager and we have proper owners, we're not that far away. However, then we tap ourselves and pinch ourselves and wake ourselves up. That's if we had good owners. We don't have owners who sense this opportunity, who smell this opportunity, who would be able to have the charisma to go and sit opposite a Diego Simeone and sell that dream to him. And therefore, they say, they're not available, so we can't do much about it, can we? We're not prepared to pay money to get these guys out of a contract. So you don't want success then. You want to keep ticking along and do well enough to keep the commercial revenue and keep the wolves from the door regarding FFP and stuff like that. You want to tick, 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 get by, tick along. You don't want to win Premier League titles, because if you did, I'll tell you it's there for you. And that's the shame of all this, is that what I just said then when I was pretending to be the director of football at Man United trying to woo Diego Simeone, everything I just said is true. But the bit that's missing, it's not Michael Carrick's fault again. It's the owners. It's the people in key positions, and it's the money that we need to go and make that happen, and a relentless pursuit of excellence rather than a relentless pursuit of making yourselves richer. They are the handbrake on the club. They are the shackles on the club, and they scupper, I repeat, everything, including this process. That is not the fault of Michael Carrick. So I'd love to be wrong. I said last season when we finished 15th, and I said at the start of this season we'll finish mid-table this season, and we're going to finish 3rd, 4th or 5th. So maybe we continue on an upward trajectory. I don't think this has the feeling of a prelude to us finishing Champions League season in, season out, or like I said, I always beg the question, are we on course in the next 3-4 years to win a Premier League title? Does what we've seen this season give a hint that that's what's to come? Are we on a steady upward trajectory? We're not, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think we are. I think this has been a freak season where we've been incredibly opportunistic. We've stumbled across a situation with an interim where it's gone really well. We've had hardly any games to play and the rest of the league has been absolute crap. And we've taken full advantage of it. And you know what? That's great. What happens next? So, yeah, as I say, I just don't feel like we're on an upward trajectory. But I'll do a proper end of season review when it comes around. We've got a chance to finish 12, 11 or 10 places higher than last year. And in the moment, as a right here, right now, you can't argue with that. And as I said, bringing it back to the start of the video, we've got every decision, I think the big decision the club's had to make over these last few years, they've got it wrong. And I think Carrick, I get it, I can reason it out. Is he someone who's going to lead us consistently to top 4 and or in the next 3 years win a Premier League title? Probably not, but I'll caveat it with, I don't think there's a manager out there that could do that under this structure. What I would say is you want to try and cover as many bases as you can. You want to try and give yourself as much of a chance as you can. And I think getting a more pedigree manager, a better manager, and showing your ambition by doing that gives you more of a chance of achieving those things than bringing in someone who, let's be really honest, would not be in the top 20 of people being mentioned had he have not had this interim stint. All we're judging him on is the interim stint. We're not judging him on anything else. And an interim stint is not a trustworthy period of time to judge anybody on. And I actually, in terms of the way he's played, I don't think it's been that good. So if we're judging him on it, I'd have my concerns anyway. If he'd been absolutely sensational in terms of style of football and won 11 games out of 12, playing fantastic football and winning 3-0 every week, of course I'd be more convinced. But even then, you're thinking it's still only an interim period. It's not trustworthy to do that. But let's have it right, we haven't seen that. But they're going to give it him anyway. You're just waiting to confirm it. Let me know your thoughts. Glazers out.